Let's bring in IDF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus. He was former IDF spokesperson until yesterday when he got called up for reserve duty. He joins us now from Tel Aviv. Lieutenant Colonel, good to talk to you. If this report that just broke in the Wall Street Journal is correct, and it is sourced to inside sources from Hezbollah and Hamas, that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps was the mastermind behind this attack and green-lighted it in a meeting in Beirut last Monday, how does that change this whole situation?
Good evening. Thanks for having me. If it's true, it does change the situation, but I do not yet know that it is. Specifically, if Iranian officials indeed presided over and green-lighted this horrible, gruesome attack that Hamas instigated yesterday. What is clear, however, to everybody involved in looking at the Middle East is that Iran is indeed the world's largest supporter of terrorism. And it is also clear that it supports, funds and provides weapons and training for various terrorist organizations along our borders. Hamas, Islamic Jihad in Gaza, Hezbollah and Hamas in Lebanon, and various Iranian proxies in Syria. So whether or not they were specifically involved in planning this horrible attack, it is clear that had it not been for Iranian support, money, funds, training and political guidance, Hamas would never have been able to execute this horrendous attack that they did yesterday.
I just want to point out, as we're talking to you, Lieutenant Colonel, we have got live pictures up of more rockets over Gaza. Don't know if that's outgoing from Gaza or it's incoming from the Israeli side. But I want to go back to 2006. I was there in Israel during the war with Hezbollah. And the way that that ignited was that Hezbollah fighters crossed the border from Lebanon into northern Israel. They killed 8 members of an Israeli military squad and took 2 of them hostage. That was a tragedy in and of itself. But what has happened so far, there's over 700 Israelis have been killed, including 260 bodies that were taken out of that music festival in Kibbutz Chaim near Gaza. What happened in 2006 sparked an all-out war with Hezbollah. How could the response to this be any less than that?
You are totally right. The events of the last 40 hours are unprecedented in their severity, in the barbarity of the violence displayed against our civilians, in the atrocities that have been done by these Hamas monsters coming across our border, and the fact that there are dozens, sadly, of Israelis that are today in the hands of a terrorist organization, men, women, children, infants, elderly people, and even disabled people. The fact that they are in the hands of a terrorist organization, it puts us in a situation which is uncharted territory. It is the darkest day in our history. Never before have so many Israelis been killed by anything, and let alone enemy activity or terrorists, in one single day. And it's been said, but you could say that it is a 9/11 and a Pearl Harbor together for us. For a country the size of Israel to sustain this amount of casualties, it is extremely difficult to explain. And I know that Trey has been down in southern Israel and he's been filming the sites. But just now, as the IDF is going door to door and house to house and clearing the areas, we're seeing what's left of Israeli communities. We see floors that are drenched in Israeli blood. We see houses riddled with bullet shots, and we know that in almost every house that there were Israelis, they holed up, they hid inside houses, and they were hunted down by Palestinian terrorists. In some cases they were able to defend themselves and fight back, but in so many cases they were slaughtered or taken into Gaza. And the severity, the unprecedented severity, just last word, unprecedented severity of the assault will dictate that this will be an unprecedented response by Israel against Hamas.
In fact, we are going to be talking right after we speak with you to a woman who was evacuated from Nirim. Her son-in-law had terrorists come into his house. He must have had a weapon in the house because he killed the terrorists who infiltrated his space. There was some particularly horrific video that was on YouTube, and I believe it's since been taken down, of a young woman who was captured and killed by Hamas, who was being paraded around Gaza, mostly stripped naked on the back of a pickup truck. That woman has now been identified. Her name is Shani Luk. Apparently, she is a German tattoo artist who was simply visiting that music festival in Israel. I mean, this terror attack has attacked rank and file Israelis, women, children, people who are Holocaust survivors, tourists from Germany. What would, in your mind, ever prompt Hamas to carry out such an attack?
You know, some things I wish that I could unsee, and I, like you, I saw that video and I've seen other gruesome videos where Palestinian terrorists have displayed their cruelty, their barbaric cruelty against Israeli civilians. I wish it wouldn't have happened, and I wish that there weren't videos like this. But this really goes to show what it is that we're dealing with. We are not dealing with an organization or a group of people that have any interest in peaceful coexistence. We are dealing with a group of people that are extremist, brainwashed, and they have one goal, and that is to annihilate the state of Israel. And when people, not Fox viewers, but other people around the world, will start to criticize Israel for attacking Hamas and for inflicting damage to the civilian infrastructure in Gaza and other allegations that are leveled at Israel, I ask them to remember, where did this war start? It started with atrocities, butchering and mass executions of Israeli civilians by Palestinian terrorists. And, you know, motivation-wise, they're in a religious extremist frenzy, believing that by butchering Israeli civilians, they will be able to overcome and destroy the state of Israel. Of course, we will prove them wrong, just as for the last 75 years we have proved all of our enemies wrong. Granted, the opening day of this war is probably the worst position that the IDF and the State of Israel has ever been in. This is a Yom Kippur magnitude kind of a moment. But the people of Israel and the State of Israel and the IDF have shown time and again that when we need to, we come together, we close our ranks, and we focus on getting the job done. And my hope is that the IDF will execute exactly what our government has told us to do. And that is to make sure that Hamas doesn't have any military capabilities left, and that they, at the end of this war, will not be able to govern the Gaza Strip. I think if that happens, then it will be a change for the good, for the region, for Israelis, and by the way, for Gazans for Palestinians in Gaza as well.
It's going to be long days ahead for both sides. No question about that. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for joining us.
Unfortunately, yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.